Hey everybody, welcome to Jacob's Quest, and last night I saw the brand new movie Twisters, with an S at the end, sequel to the 90s movie Twister. In a way, mostly, kind of, it is, but it's not really. What I mean to say is that this is not a legacy sequel, as in, we are not getting cameos from the cast of the original movie, we're not getting a whole bunch of references thrown in our face about, like, remember that time these people did that thing in the 90s? No, like, we're not getting really any of that. There's only, like, a couple small things that if you've never seen the original movie, you won't even notice. Like, it's not in your face at all. So this is not some kind of legacy sequel. It's just like a movie on its own that happens to be in the same world. And having said that, it does have a lot of the exact same DNA in many ways. In fact, most ways, I would say. This movie feels like the first time in a while that I've seen like it feels like a 90s movie, as in it's got that cheesiness, corniness to it, and it doesn't shy away from that at all. A lot of the characters are, you might call them archetypes or stereotypes. You know, you got your hippie, you got your redneck, you got your cowboy, you got your tech guy, you got your corporate people who are like oh, those are kind of the bad guys because they're all sold out and they're corporatized and they have logos and stuff, you know. And then you got, you know, but it's kind of modernized because like these people, instead of just being like rough and tumble, kind of like, oh, we do this for fun, like they're YouTubers, they have a YouTube page, you know, so like they kind of updated a little bit for that. And just in that way, this movie feels fully accepting on what it is. You know, it is corny, it is cheesy, it is like, you know, it kind of like rides that line of believability as to how frequent these twisters and how large these twisters can get and how quickly they can just, like, you know, we're sitting in stands and then we see some wind blow and we're like, oh my god, it's happening, and like in like 10 seconds later it's, you know, it creeps up on the characters like it's a big monster, you know. So they're fully accepting of like the cinematic nature that they're building this up to be, right? And by the way, like, I saw this in IMAX. I think it's totally worth seeing this in IMAX. This feels like an old school blockbuster that they just don't really make anymore. It also feels definitely, I guess you would call it 4-quadrant, as in like this is not appealing to like a specific group of people, or it's not going to make a different group of people mad, or it's not, you know, like it's not trying to do anything like that. Like, it is just here for the spectacle, and it's here for like just to have a good time. So like if you want some escapism and you just want to have like a good time and not think about anything else, I think this is the movie for you. I really do. Look, it's fun, it's simple, it's cheesy and corny, you know, and let's just break it down, talk about what we're looking at here, and stop me if this sounds familiar. We're following a couple scientists, one scientist who tried to make this device work inside of a tornado, and that's like her driving force throughout the whole film, and she has some traumatic past related to twisters and tornadoes, and then we meet this other group of characters who are all very colorful and have, like, you know, like I said, they're all stereotypes to certain degrees, right? And then in the center of this story is like a love story that's kind of, you know, like it's this budding romance, and it's all like just this epic classic Hollywood, like, you know, crazy action, but also like romance here, over here, and the occasional funny parts just from side characters. And if that sounds familiar, if it sounds like the original Twister, that's because it is. Like in so many ways, this is the original Twister again, but not like a copy. You know, it doesn't feel like a remake, but there's definitely like, yeah, this is definitely like in the same world. Now, having said all that, I have never lived in Oklahoma or any of these areas where tornadoes and twisters are kind of frequent. In fact, I had someone Google today, how often do tornadoes even happen per year? And it was like 100 something a year. And I was like, oh my, that sounds crazy, but that's what Google said. I don't know. So as much as I kind of want to like, okay, this movie feels like there's another hurricane happening every 5 minutes because it only takes place over a span of a few days, and yet somehow there's like constant hurricanes. I'm like, or not hurricanes, sorry, tornadoes. And I'm like, how can that be possible? There's no way there's that many, but I don't know. Maybe there are. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. Also, you know, they kind of treat storm chasing like it's a sport. You know, you're competing against these other teams and you're trying to be like the, you know, the best that there is, and you got like these rock star storm chasers, and I don't know how much of that is a reality. You know, like if I go on YouTube right now, I'm sure there are some people similar to this that might exist, but like how much of an exaggeration was this? Is there actually like kind of a following? Like, is there like a fandom surrounding people who chase storms and ride tornadoes and all that? Like, is that a thing? I don't know. I kind of doubt it. It seems so bombastic, but it might be a thing. I don't know. I've never lived in these areas. I'll have to Google that later. So in any case, the characters were extremely likable. It's got its cheesy moments, and I think the core of it being like the romance surrounded by a bunch of action and a bunch of destruction, and just and then a lot of like kind of the underlying message of like, hey, these communities come together after disasters and we all try to help each other and we try to do what we can. You know, it's all done in a very cheesy way, but it does kind of make you feel good as you're watching it. That's the other thing. As far as like connections to the original movie, there's really only one thing, and they don't explain it, and it's like walking out, I'm like, okay, I know only people like me who are really nerdy about movies, and you focus way too much on like, well, how does this make sense? Hold on a minute, you overthink all this. So at the very beginning of the movie, these characters, they have a Dorothy device. Now, a Dorothy device was something that the characters in the original 90s movie created. They created Dorothy 1 through 4, and they made this themselves. It was like their own invention, and they were using it to like track the information from inside of tornadoes, right? Now, at the beginning of the movie, these characters have what they call Dorothy 5, and it looks exactly like those other machines, and it's never explained how they have this. Like, none of the characters are related to the original characters. They're not like, they don't mention them ever. They don't say anything like, oh, we stole these blueprints off somewhere. At least I didn't hear that being said. So they kind of just have this device, and it feels like this is a remnant from an earlier production version of this movie. Because I looked it up. Originally, this was going to be much more of a legacy sequel. They were going to make it like, oh, these are all the children of the original characters, and they're like, continuing the story. And they decided to not do that. And I think them having this device at the beginning of the movie is like a remnant from that version of the script when they were going to be related, because that would have been a very easy explanation as to how they have this Dorothy device. Anyways, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't come back up. It's only during that one scene, so it's not even like a persistent thing that you have to keep thinking about. It's just someone like me who thinks about movies way too much. I'm like, well, hold on, how do they have this? Those other characters created it. It's not like a device you just buy. It's a personally manufactured thing that they handmade. So like, whatever, it doesn't matter. The point is, their characters are really likable. It's cheesy, it's corny, but it's got a lot of cool action, and honestly, it's just fun. It reminded me of being at a theme park. It reminded me of like if you're in line at Universal Studios and they have like the cinematics beforehand when you're in the wait line and you just see like whatever the story of the ride is playing out. That's kind of what it felt like. It's definitely cheesy, but you're about to have some fun, so like you sit down and you just enjoy it, right? So I don't know, I really enjoyed Twisters. It's kind of funny that like I think about this age sometimes, before not just superhero movies, but also before like big franchises kind of took over the entire blockbuster scene. We had movies like Twister come out back in the 90s, and they were just like, oh, it's just like a kind of a disaster movie, but also there's like romance in it, and it's just kind of like this 4-quadrant, everyone's gonna love this blockbuster, and that's what it is. So kind of the irony of this being a sequel, thus making this a franchise, I guess. But it does like bring me back to the like, oh, that's right, not everything was a franchise, not everything was a sequel, not everything was a spin-off, and not that I'm one of those people that despises that, because obviously, hey, I love Star Wars and all that shit, right? Like I'm so excited for Deadpool next week, you know what I mean? So not that I'm against the franchises, but it is nice to every once in a while have like, oh right, that's these other things existed at a point in time. But again, this is technically a sequel, so I guess this is a franchise. So hey, what do I know? Anyways, let me know what you guys think about Twisters. Are you excited to see this movie? Have you seen the original Twister? Do you remember what happens? It's not necessary to go watch it because there's no like plot developments that like directly tie into that. But it is something that you know, if you're looking for like what is this movie, go watch the original Twister and just imagine that, but like slightly updated. And that's what this movie is. It's still pretty good. So anyways, let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.